Good day, dear students. I want to welcome you to week 2, lesson 2. In this week, we're looking at macroeconomic policy goals and variables. I hope you had value last week when we discussed the basic economic concept. We looked at scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, and its impact on basic economic concepts in the world. I hope you had a nice weekend and you are ready for this new lesson where we'll be discussing the macroeconomic policy goals and variables, and we're looking at how these policies, the instruments and the conflicts as it affects major economy and particularly the Nigerian economic system. Thank you. Have a great week ahead of you. The objective of this course is to understand the macroeconomic policy goals and its variables, relate the policies to the Nigerian and global business environment, and be able to explain how the economic environment affects different types of businesses that we have within the Nigerian and the global environment. What is a policy? The basic principles by which a government is guided, the declared objective that a government or party seeks to achieve. We have policy objectives. These are goals or targets that the government wants to achieve, and as economists, we see this in terms of full employment, economic growth, higher, better living for the citizens, control of inflation, and a satisfactory balance of payments within an economy. Macroeconomic policies. Let's remind ourselves of the definition of macroeconomics. As the study of the behavior of the economy as a whole, it concerns business cycles that lead to unemployment and inflation, as well as the long-term trend in outputs and living standard. Macroeconomic policies can be divided into 3. We have the monetary policy, the fiscal policy, and the supply side policy. For the fiscal policy, we look at the changes in government taxation, government spending and borrowing, the use of government spending, how government uses its money, how government uses taxes for the people, and how this affects the economic growth, demand, output, and employment within an economy. For the monetary policy aspect, we look at interest rates, the supply of money, credits, the value of exchange rates, and this involves the interest rate increase and its growth, effects of this on the growth of the aggregate demand in the economy. The supply side looks at how markets work effectively within an economy. Measuring economic objectives, because we have goals, we have those policies as our targets. The tools that are used to achieve macroeconomic objectives are full employment or low employment or unemployment, price stability, high but sustainable economic growth, and balance of payments. When we talk about full employment, International Labour Organization's measure of full employment is the ideal and acceptable global standard. It's used to measure employment and say how each economy's unemployment rate is. This is given monthly, weekly, depending on how you want to use it. When we talk about the Nigerian economy, how is full employment measured? The Bureau of Statistics has this job, and they give these figures monthly, yearly. When you go to the Bureau of Statistics, you get these figures. Price stability. How stable is the price of products in Nigeria? We use the consumer price index, the retail price index, the retail price index, less mortgage are the different measures of calculating within the price stability. We have high but sustainable economic growth. We have the GDP, gross domestic product. It measures the annual output or income or expenditure of an economy. It is designed to measure the market value of production that flows through the economy. We have the GDP formula that we use, which is C plus I plus G plus brackets EX minus RM close brackets. This you find in the main course outline. Then we look at things that are not included in the GDP. You find that in the course outline as well. Then we go to the balance of payments. It's a record of all international financial transactions made by the country's residents. All the products you buy from Dubai, from Sweden, from America. I know right now as you are looking at this course, one of the things on your body is actually an imported product. It's not made in Nigeria. All these things affect our balance of payments in the Nigerian economy. Macroeconomic variables. We have the macroeconomic variables that will be looking at both policy instruments based on internal and external variables. The internal variables, we have the fiscal policy, the monetary policy, financial economic policy, the income policy. External variables, we look at weather, population growth, war, revolution, as it affects different economies. Macroeconomic goals and instruments. The 5 macroeconomic goals we'll be discussing are employment, unemployment, stability of prices, stable prices, inflation and deflation, international trade, exchange rate stability. Employment and unemployment. For employment, we want to look at employment is defined as the level of employment at which there are no cyclical or deficient demand. Employment is a very serious matter because a lot of graduates are unemployed in this nation. And how do we determine what employment is? How many people are looking for work, are able to work but cannot find employment? Then we say we're not fully employed in an economy. Stable prices. How stable is our crude oil? How stable is the petroleum prices? Those are the things we are looking at. In the last 5 years, have we had increase in prices? Even to the little gari we buy in the market. There was a time prices went up. Inflation and deflation. Inflation, a key macroeconomic concept that is used to judge an economy, whether the economy is good or not. How has inflation eroded our buying power? We have right before us agitation for increase in minimum wage. Why? Because of inflation. What is deflation? Deflation looks at when prices come down, we have better bargaining power. Different types of inflation we'll be looking at: the creeping, the walking, the galloping, and the hyperinflation. International trade, the exchange rate stability. Foreign exchange, dollar against naira at 365.60. We had it as high as 400 at one point in time within this economy at a particular month and year. What is the exchange rate stability? Has our exchange rate, has our naira been stable against other currencies? Definitely not. Those are the things we'll be looking at in this course. Macroeconomic instruments. We have macroeconomic instruments, the policy instruments. Policy conflicts. What are the policy conflicts that arise because of the use of one macroeconomic policy which sometimes outweigh the impact of another one, leading to policy conflict. Example is the effects of the changes in interest rates on the distribution of income within the economy. Our summary and conclusion. Can you list 4 things you learned in this lesson? We looked at economic policy goals and variables and how it relates to the Nigerian global business environment and how the macroeconomic environment affects different types of business. Thank you and have a great week.